Hey guys, how you going? I've got another interview today. I've got Alex here.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on. Let's get into a little overview of you. So, just give people an idea of who Alex is.
I'm 18. I study psychology at the University of Wollongong. I really like reading, I like cooking, I really like animals. I don't work. I don't know, really passionate about mental health and like human rights and stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, I've seen your Instagram.
All the stuff on the story.
Yeah, I've seen it. That's good. That's good. So how are things at the moment?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, now restrictions have kind of lifted and everything.
Yeah.
And I've always been kind of a homebody, like I'm an only child, so
Right, yeah.
I don't know. I was talking to my mum when quarantine first started, and I kind of feel like, I don't know, my whole life I've just been preparing for something like this. Like I just...
You're so used to it.
Yeah, so the first couple of weeks of quarantine I was just like, it's just normal.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Fair
pretty
enough.
good. And I'm on uni break now, so.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, today's my second day of uni break, so I'm like, oh, thank God.
Oh sweet.
Yeah.
So again to the issues, which will be the bulk of the interview. So from what you've told me, it's major depressive disorder,
Yeah.
generalized anxiety and social anxiety, panic disorder,
Yeah.
and undiagnosed, but
Yeah.
anorexia.
Yeah,
So I guess
Bit of a list.
you got a good rap sheet there. You beat me, definitely.
Yeah. Not this competition.
No, there's a competition. But I guess do you know which one started first? Did they all kind of, it was like a domino effect or like, yeah?
I think like looking back into my childhood, there were definitely moments when I experienced anxiety, but I just didn't have like the words to communicate what it was.
Yeah.
Like I remember back in primary school, we would go and do reconciliation at church, and I would get so anxious to talk to the priest. And that's kind of something that's gone through my whole life, being anxious with like church, and that's for other reasons we'll get to later. But yeah, I used to be so anxious to talk to the priest, and I would like cry and beg my teacher to be like, please, like don't make me go speak to the priest and confess my sins. And the teacher would be like, why? And I'd be like, oh, I'm just really nervous. And she'd be like, okay, it's just the priest, you're literally 8. So yeah, there's times like that where I can look back now and be like, oh, that was definitely anxiety. But for the most part, when I was a child, like I was pretty outgoing, like I did a lot of drama and acting and really enjoyed it. And I didn't really, I don't know, have much social anxiety. Like I didn't really have that many friends, but I was just chilling. Like I was like,
you're all good. When you first noticed these struggles, when it was apparent to you that you like should actually tell someone, and you did that?
Yeah, so probably in like year 9 was when I first started being like, ooh, that's anxiety. Like I would go into exams and like just have panic attacks and in the classroom and just like sit there and I don't know. People who went to school with me, I don't know if they remember, but like I would be so disruptive, like crying and hyperventilating, that I would have to get taken out of the classroom and have to like go sit the exam somewhere else or get something else sorted out. So that started happening in year 9. So I was 15? 15.
15.
Yeah, and so I was kind of like, oh, this isn't normal, and it's kind of affecting my whole schooling. Because obviously sitting exams is a part of your schooling, and a lot of my anxiety first came from like I guess performance anxiety and having a lot of pressure on myself to like perform well and but then year 10 was when I was 16 was when it like got really bad, and I just literally could not sit exams. Like I just physically was unable to. was like, yeah, this is not normal. And year 10 was then kind of everything started happening, like the depression and everything else. And so I was kind of like, ooh, better, you know. And my teachers and stuff were like worried about me, and so and like obviously my parents kind of knew because the school had to speak to them about me not being able to sit exams and stuff like that. So I started seeing a psychologist in 2017. And I would speak to my parents about what was going on, but not like the whole extent of what was going on. And I was very like private about it with my friends. Like I only really started opening up about my mental health to my friends in like the past year. Like they knew I had things going on, but
so you kind of would see other people, and like for you you're like, oh yeah, it's normal, but then you'd see other people and they weren't like that, they weren't over stressing like you were.
So like, I don't know, me being like a high achiever and a perfectionist has always been a thing. Like in year 7 and 8, when I was like could sit exams fine, like it would just be a normal amount of anxiety, and I'm like, oh well, this is just normal, like everyone feels pressure to do well in school. But it was when the point came that I was like breaking down during exams, and there were people, like other girls in my class, sitting there kind of like, what's going on? That was kind of when I was like, ooh. And then people started like asking me after class or after exams, like, oh, are you okay? And I'd be like, oh my God, that is so embarrassing, because I hate like crying and getting emotional in front of people. So I just, that was when I was kind of like, this isn't normal, and other people don't actually feel like this. And I would talk to my friends and I'd be like, I'm one of those annoying people where it's like, I got 90% on this exam, like I'm so bummed. And my friends would be like, okay. And, and I'd be like, I really just wanted 100%, like I just wanted it to be perfect. So that was kind of when I was like, ooh, that doesn't seem correct. So,
Right, I think that perfectionism was kind of with me a bit, but I see it with other people, like Cody, who I had on for the first interview. Like she was so, you know, pressured into, on her own pressure and other people's pressure to be like this perfect score and all these things. And it can work for some people, but for others it kind of just, it messes with you to the point where it can like, it can damage your like self-worth if you're not actually reaching those heights. Which
it becomes increasingly harder to do, because like with perfectionism, well, at least my experience, I don't know, I'll be like, oh, I really just want an A, or I want to be at 6, and then I start achieving those goals consistently, and it doesn't bring me any like fulfillment or satisfaction. So it's like, oh well, obviously that's too easy, so I'll strive for higher, so I'll strive for 95% in like on like average. And if I start achieving that, then it's like, may as well go for the 100%. Like it's there for a reason. It's a grade for a reason. So if it's there, like people can do it, and I'm you know,
on the way. True.
Like in high school in English, oh my God, I'm so afraid of this sounding like I'm big noting myself. I literally, I hate speaking about my grades, because I feel like that just reinforced everyone's perception of me. But in English, like English was my best subject, and the first couple assessments I got 100%, but like I wasn't striving to get 100%. But then because I got 100%, people were like, oh Alex, what you get? And I was like, and they're like, oh wow. I had in my brain that people expected me to get 100%, and that the English like teachers and stuff expected me to get 100%. So like going into exams, I was like, I need to get 100%, otherwise I've failed. So
Your standard.
Yeah, which is
like
which is literally stupid, which is so dumb. But that was just how my brain worked, and logically, I knew and I know that that's not realistic. And if you don't get 100%, you're not failing. Like that's still really good. But I just couldn't live with myself.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, It's something if you're in someone's shoes you can't understand.
Yeah, it's just kind of all consuming. Like you can see the other side, but that's not. You can be like, oh yeah, that's okay for other people, but not for me.
Yeah.
Like I need to get 100% or do perfect or whatever.
Yeah. So some breaking points you mentioned, obviously 2017 and 2019. Mm-hmm. I guess briefly go into what caused those, or kind of what led up to that.
Yeah. So 2017, that was kind of when, I don't know, I just felt like my world was completely spinning out of control and I just had no control over anything.
Yeah.
First of all, just like, I don't know, going to school made me really depressed because, I don't know, I kind of felt like I didn't belong. Like I only had one close friend and everyone else I kind of like kept at arm's length and they didn't really know what was going on, so I felt like I couldn't actually be myself or like open up, so I just kind of felt, I don't know, really isolated. Like I would walk to school and I would just cry because I knew that I was going to school. And I just wouldn't want to get out of bed or do anything, and so that's obviously depression.
Yes.
And I'd kind of been living like that for the first like 6 months of 2017. And then because I felt like I didn't really have control over like my feelings. Like no matter what I did, I felt, it wasn't even always sadness, it was just like nothing. Like I just didn't feel
empty,
anything.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it wasn't really a conscious, like it was never a decision, but I kind of, just started restricting what I was eating, and it was under the guise of being like, oh, I'm like being healthy. Like I'm just cutting out like junk food and I'm just like being healthier. And my parents, hi mum, hi dad, who are watching this, never really spoken with them about this. Like there was obviously something wrong with like my eating patterns, but I was like so incredibly like secretive about it. Like I don't really want to go into like what I specifically did because I don't want to give people ideas. But my parents thought that it was just like the stress of the year because they still saw me eating. So they were like, oh, she doesn't have an eating disorder because I was still eating around them, and I was very like, I don't know, in my mind I was just like very deceptive to everyone around me. Like I just wouldn't let them know what was going on. I'd put up this front to, my whole life I just like wanted to be perfect. And so I didn't want other people seeing that I was struggling. Like I wanted other people to think that I was alright. And I would over-exercise. Like I did so much walking, and that was under the guise of like, oh, it's for my anxiety, because like, you know, exercise does help with anxiety. But it was to the point where it became like ritualistic. Like there were so many rituals and rules in my head, like certain things I could and couldn't eat, certain things I had to do and couldn't do. And if I did something that I wasn't allowed to do in my mind, like I would punish myself for it by doing other things. So that was happening on top of the depression, and then like the panic attacks were getting a lot worse as well. So it was kind of just, and I'm such a person that I don't know my limits. Like I'll just keep pushing myself until I break. So it came to a point at the end of 2017 where I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I was so malnourished that I don't remember much of 2017 because my brain was not functioning.
Yeah.
And I would get into an exam and I wouldn't actually be able to put words to paper because I couldn't actually form thoughts. I couldn't form coherent sentences.
Yeah.
And I literally had meetings with my teachers who, I went from getting A's to getting C's and D's. And I had meetings with my teachers and I was like, I don't know what's happening, this isn't my best work, you've seen, you've known me for 4 years. I don't know what's happening, I just got to a point where I just couldn't actually function.
Yeah.
And I had lost my period for about 2 years.
Right.
And that was the thing that worried my parents. So they took me to a doctor, and the doctor, she weighed me and was like, you need to go to a nutritionist.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I went to a nutritionist, and the nutritionist was like, your heart's going to give out if you don't put on weight, so you're either going to have to get hospitalised or you're going to need to show improvement in the next week. And I was like, can I swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
I was like, oh my fucking God, I'm going to die.
Wow.
I was like, I don't really, I don't really want my heart to give out, so better. And I don't know, needed someone to tell me and give me permission that it was okay to slow things down and take a break. I went to doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists and the whole shebang, and they were like, you need to slow down and take a break and take time off school. So I took I just felt like, I don't know, I needed that permission to be able to let my guard down and actually hit my lowest point, because I was still so focused on making it seem like everything was okay when it really, really wasn't.
You play these games with yourself.
Yeah.
It's interesting, you note that it was, you kind of went through these patterns of kind of anorexia.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of you see someone like a model and you want to be like them, and it's not something that's, and Cody said it as well, it's not just that situation, it can be just a internal thing that you do your own mental gymnastics for, and it causes you to, lose control over this thing, because I think with you wanted to kind of control everything. You kind of have this, not in a maniac way, but just in you wanted to get perfect everything with the test. I
had this major idea of who I wanted to be and who I wanted other people to perceive me as. And I don't know, I felt like there were certain things I could do that would be a measure of that success.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's no such thing as a perfect person. How do you measure perfection? Yeah. So everything that I could possibly control that could be a measure of perfection to society and other people and myself, I tried to control and make as perfect as I could.
Yeah.
Even though that control, I actually had no control. That was controlling me.
Yeah.
So
there's I think it's great to have a pursuit for perfection, but you need to have the idea that you're not going to get it right every single time, and that you're going to fall short, even if you shoot for the stars. It's just and again, it's with different people, and everyone has their own way of attacking challenges and different things. But I think for me, I was trying to be perfect with footy, and I was trying to be, I was training as much as I could and doing all these things and watching film, and I was just really enthralled with being so perfect. And then it just came to me that that's just not going to happen. This is not a reality, and I'm fooling myself into I guess believing that.
Yeah, and that's another measure of perfection. I didn't do sport, but I'm sure if I did sport, I'd be I want to get...
I want to get this.
Yeah.
I want to be
as
the
many
best.
tries? Is that... What's in footy? Try?
Oh, AFL. But yes.
I don't know, guys. I'm
Goals.
sorry.
Either one. It's I want to get as many of those things.
Yeah. I want to get personal best and like
all those things you want to
yeah. So it's very similar.
Talking about this anxiety, for me it was, I guess for you it was like constrictive. It kind of it held you in. That was the same for me.
Yeah, very debilitating. Like I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like and people are like, well, just stop like putting so much pressure on yourself, stop worrying.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I physically felt like I couldn't function. Like I was at a point, like I'd gotten to a point, and in like last year, 2019, I'd gotten to a point where I felt like I couldn't actually control myself anymore. Like there was a little like man in my head that was making me do things, and I couldn't. And people were like, well, your anxiety isn't bigger than you, which is true, but I felt like it was. Like I could not. I felt like there was nothing I could do to control it. I'd been in like 2 years of seeing a psychologist, and like felt like I knew, all the tricks to, keep anxiety at bay, like all the techniques, and I just felt like nothing was working. I couldn't and I don't know. I just felt like I was kind of looking down on myself, and I couldn't do anything to influence what I was, feeling.
Yeah. It's a patience thing as well, because you, in your mind, you're like, oh, I'll just get over this in a couple of months, this is just something that I'll take a bit to get rid of. Yeah. But I think anxiety, once it's kind of developed inside it can stay with you. You always live with it. It's just whether you can learn how to cope with it and use it to your own advantage. I think the main thing when anxiety is constrictive as it is actually doing something. I spent so much time not doing anything, and I think the main thing for me is to get up and not wake up at 11 or 12, to get up as early as I can and like go for a walk or something. Or, do something, just whatever it is, just do something, because that little man, like you said, is trying to keep you right there, just not do anything.
That was the same with exams. Like especially in year 12, I would get into exams. So I've had special provisions in high school because of like my anxiety, and it was disruptive to other people. And so but I would sit in exams and I'd have panic attack after panic attack, and the question on the paper could have literally been, what is 1 + 1? And I would not have been able to answer it. Like I literally could not pick up a pen and answer it. Wow. And everyone was like reassuring me, like, you know the content, like you're really smart, you can do it. And it wasn't even that, it was just like I felt like I had no control over my reaction. Like I felt like it developed past like a fear. Like I worked with my psychologist we did like a couple exercises before exams where my psychologist would set up in her office like a desk and a chair and a blank piece of paper and a pen, and I would walk in as if I was walking into an exam, and I would sit down as if I was sitting in an exam, and she would like read through a script of like imagining that you're in an exam, and I would just sit there and cry and cry. And it's literally a blank piece of paper and a pen, and I felt like I could not do anything to stop me from panicking. And so I just was, the little man was just really, I felt like I was just his little puppet, and I could not get myself back to a place of being able to actually function.
Yeah. And that was kind of next question, is just how would you describe living in your shoes? Because you don't want anyone else to go through these things.
Yeah.
But you kind of want them to understand what it's like, so they know, just so they know why you're like this.
Yeah.
And so I guess, how would you describe kind of a day in your shoes?
Yeah.
Just like how the feeling is.
Generally, like at all times, I'm just generally anxious, which for me is like, I don't know, I feel really jittery. Like a lot of the times I'll just be shaking, and my parents and my friends will be like, "Why are you shaking?" I'm like, just am. Just am.
Yeah.
And like with the social anxiety, I find it so hard to, I don't know, do things where I think I'm always very conscious of how people perceive me.
Yes.
And
yes.
Like even going shopping, oh my God.
Yeah.
I pretty much only online shop because like I have this overwhelming fear, and the people in the shop are gonna be like, wow, this girl is taking so long. Or if I'm like paying, oh my God, I went into this makeup store the other day and I was buying this thing, and I was paying with a gift card because it was about to run out.
Yeah. Was it?
Usually I just give the gift card to the people and they just do their thing. But the lady was like, the like swipe is on the side of the card machine. And I don't know, I just always tap my card. So I was like, oh my God. And so I swiped it, and then it was like, what's the PIN? And I hadn't scratched off the back of the card yet. And there were people behind me in the line. I was frantically scratching off the card. And then by the time I had gotten the PIN, the thing had declined. Oh my God. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but like the thing declined. And she was like, oh, okay. So she started again. I swiped it. I put in the PIN, and it was like credit or savings. And I was like, I usually just do credit. So I did credit, and it said card not supported. I'm like, oh my God, get me out of here. And I did, and then the lady was like, did you do credit or savings? And I was like, I did credit. And she was like, oh, well, it's actually savings. And I was like, okay. So I did savings, I got out of there as quick as I could. And I just constantly feel like people are thinking worst of me. And I don't know, when it gets really bad, I feel like I lose all control of just all of my bodily functions. Like I'll just sit there and cry hysterically, hyperventilate. Like I can't even describe it. It's such a, like I feel like I do not have any control over what I'm doing. I feel like I'm dying. I know that I'm not dying, but I feel like the world is coming to an end, even if it's not. It's not.
It's
the world is not ending. The world is not ending, but we'll see for the rest of the year. But and I just feel like I am watching myself. Like it's not like an out of body experience. Like I can't actually literally see myself. But I feel like I'm just watching this person that I don't know do things that I have no control over. That's as I can explain it.
Throughout 2019 and that breaking point, so I guess what led up to that?
So in 2019 it was again the exams, really just a reoccurring thing. Because that was such, like in my head, such a measure of perfection, and I felt like I set myself up there because I don't know if it was irrational or not, but I felt like everyone else perceived me as just like Alex, the smart one, or like, oh, she always does well in exams. So I felt like if I didn't, people would talk about me and be like, wow, Alex didn't do that well.
And
and because
that's so irrational.
But people would always ask me how I did in exams because they would like measure how they went against me. So if they did better than me, they'd be like, oh yes, got better than Alex. Like I'm doing something right, which like is fine for them, but for me it was like, oh my god, like I don't know, it's just so mortifying and
there's more pressure.
Just so much pressure. And like with even teachers, like I felt like they expected high like things of me, which like I literally would speak to my teachers and they'd be like, just do your best, like we just want like your mental health to be okay. But I felt like they were just saying that because they had to. I don't know. I felt like
they're not really sure how to approach that.
Yeah, I felt like the teachers were like, oh, yeah, like you need to be okay, but also they were expecting me to, you know, like boost up their average and like get them band sixes and stuff like that. And I don't know. That's so irrational. But in my head, I'm like, oh, they're lying to me. Like they don't actually care. Which they did care. I just, didn't, I don't know, didn't believe it. So I guess trials was like a big breaking point in 2019. So trial HSE exams. I just was completely like debilitated. Usually I had special provisions where I would be in separate supervision. So I wouldn't be in like a big hall with everyone doing the exam. I'd be in a smaller room with other people who had separate supervisions, so like maybe like 10 other people. But I literally would just sit there and cry, and I'd say to the person examining administering the exam, I'd be like, can I go outside? Or I have such a strong fight or flight response, and I always choose flight. Like I will always get out of there. And the only thing I can think about is I want to go home. I want to get out of here. Like I can't do this. So I would be like, can I please like go outside? And the people administering the exam would be like, you're eating into your exam time. And I'm like, I know, but I can't. Like
I can't do this.
Yeah. And so that happened a lot, and I was very disruptive to the poor people in the sitting in the exam room. And that was also another thing, like I would try and be as quiet as possible, and then I'd stress myself out more by being like, oh my god, I'm disrupting everyone else. Like so it was just a big like snowball. And so I had to get put into separate supervision to stop disrupting the poor people that were also in the room with me. So I got put like by myself with an examiner. And I just couldn't function. So like I spoke so much with the school, and we came to the agreement of like I could take as much time as I wanted. So I could sit there for 6 hours and do the exam if I wanted to, just as long as I got something down on paper. Because I literally could not get words on the page. So exams that took everyone else like an hour and a half or 2 hours or 3 hours, like it would take me the full day. I would be at school for the full day doing the exam. And it wasn't even like, I was so scared to tell people that, because I didn't, already with the special provisions, people knew I had special provisions because I wasn't in the hall with people. And already I was nervous that people would be like, that's why Alex gets such good grades, because she gets an advantage like in separate supervision and all that. So I was so like, I didn't tell anyone about what I was going through in trials, because I didn't want them to think like, oh, she's getting special treatment, like, which, I don't know, the school was just trying to support me the best that they could.
Of course.
But anyway, but my trial exams were horrific. And yeah, I had to do a lot of paperwork with the school and see a lot of doctors and stuff like that to, figure out, I don't know, what the next step was. And then HSC rolled around, and the whole lead up to HSC, I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. Like, I'm going to be exactly like I was in trials. So for maybe like a month leading up to HSC, for most classes, I would get taken out of class and I would sit exams during class time, like mock exams, to just try and be okay and like be able to cope with my anxiety. It wasn't for like to get feedback or anything. So I did that, and I did a lot of work with my psychologist and school counsellor and the school, and a lot of people. And I don't know, I just felt like I was failing. Like I had set myself up for success, and there was no way that I could have screwed it up, and I screwed it up. Like, I had gotten to the point where my anxiety and my panic and all that was like so strong that I couldn't function. So I couldn't even pass exams because I couldn't actually write. Like, I was completely paralyzed. And so if I didn't put all this pressure on myself, I would have just gotten good grades and, gotten a good ATAR and gone to university. But I'd screwed myself up so bad. Well, I felt like I'd screwed myself up so badly that all the pressure I put on myself had completely backfired, and now I was just at square one. So I just felt like I was failing, and because exams was such a measure of my self-worth, because that was what I used to measure my perfection or whatever. I just got into a really dark place, and I just felt like I'm always going to be like this. Like, I do not know how I'm ever going to be able to pull myself out of this, because I've tried so hard and worked for so long with so many different people for years, and it's just keeps getting worse. And it's not going to stop, because then I go to university and I have university exams, and then I go to work and I'll have to perform there. So I just thought I have ruined my life, and there's just I've disappointed everyone around me. I've disappointed my parents, my friends, like my peers, who I felt like thought that I don't know, perceived me as like being smart. So I felt like if it had come out that, I was having all these struggles, that people would be like, God. Felt like I was disappointing my teachers because like I wasn't doing as well as I could have. I was disappointing myself because I knew that I was capable of doing it, but I just couldn't cope to actually do it. So the first day of HSC, the English exam, for the whole morning, I was in like a little breakout room in like the offices to like study and just collect myself. And I speak to the school counsellor, but the night before I had like a massive breakdown, and I just emailed my year coordinator, just like venting, because I just couldn't like hold it in anymore. And the day of, I went, into the exam room, and I felt like a lamb going to the slaughter. I literally felt like I was going to die. Like it's so irrational. It's literally an exam room. Like it was a room that I literally sat in so many times during my schooling, and I knew that I had the knowledge there, but I just felt like all these people were like taking me to my death. Like I was like, please just someone help me, like get me out of here. So yeah, that was like, I don't know, just the scariest feeling. It's so irrational.
Yeah.
But
looking back,
even now, like, makes me emotional because like it was so just a horrible feeling. And so I got left in the exam room.
Yeah.
God, what? This is literally like almost a year ago, and it still makes me. So it was just me and the exam, the lady like administering the exam, and she was one of the ladies who had had me for trials. So the poor lady, she knew what was coming. And so I was like, I can't do it. Like I sat down, I was trying to compose myself, but as soon as the door closed, I immediately started having a panic attack and just completely losing it. I was just, worried about what everyone else was going to think, and so I didn't really tell anyone. I told my close friends what happened and that what happened on the day of the exam, and that I didn't know if I'd be going into like an inpatient facility or what was gonna happen to me, and at that point I didn't really care. It was just months of like my parents had to take time off work to look after me because like I couldn't be left by myself. And just a really dark time. A lot of months of seeing doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists and trying medication and I don't know, just trying to get me into a better place. And even like after HSC was over, so really like I should have been better if that was like my source of stress, or knowing that I didn't have to sit the HSC, I should have been like, oh, okay. But I don't know, I just felt like I'd completely failed and I had nothing to live for, and I was just a worthless human being. And
that's so far from the truth.
So that's
in that moment you're so stuck in your own
world,
self-pity and just hating. It's so destructive.
I had no one else to. I didn't want to talk to my friends at length about it because like they were going through their HSC. I didn't want to put extra stress on them, and then like I didn't want to worry my parents. I don't know, and I don't know, got sick of talking about it as well because I like was seeing so many doctors, and I just felt like there was nothing anyone could do to like save me. I felt like it was just a lost cause. But
I think I saw back in like primary school, year 6 and 5, I saw like she was like some sort of like teacher, but she was outside of school, and she was helping me with doing the exams because I was very nervous about doing exams. And my whole thing was that I knew all the content, and I was a generally smart person, but then when it came to going into the test, I would mess up little things like comprehension. I would misspell really easy words. I wasn't myself. And the main, obviously this doesn't work for everyone, but the main thing we kind of worked out was that if I can put myself in a place that isn't this exam, then I realised, I'm just doing homework or something like that. Because when I was doing homework, I would kill it and I would not worry about it as much. But that was just kind of what it was for me. Obviously it doesn't work for everyone. But if you're able to escape to somewhere, and this is with anything with mental health, I find if I can escape to somewhere that is where everything is okay, then I'm able to rationalize things. And that takes a lot of practice, and that takes a lot of breathing and slowing down things. But yeah, that's just
like I do stuff like that too when I'm just generally anxious, but because I feel like I just kept pushing myself and pushing myself, I'd gotten so far beyond that point. Like I don't know, like that's a really good technique for I don't know, my just general anxiety. But if you don't like nip it in the bud, it just gets worse and worse and worse, and you don't realise it until it's happened. Or at least that's how it was with me. So that's fair enough.
So we'll take a little detour from the whole exams and anxiety surrounding that. So your sexual identity, that is something that's kind of been messing with you, I guess, or just been clouding. It's been a thing. So I guess talk on that.
So growing up, I don't know, I always like in primary school always had like crushes on guys, just like whatever. And then I got to year 7, so I was 12, 13, and I now looking back on it, I know that it was a crush. I had a crush on one of my friends who was a girl, but at the time I was like, oh, like I just, you know, really like her as a friend, like I just like want to be best friends with her, like I'm just, she's a really good friend. But then like I started being like, oh, like I want to hold her hand, and I was like, what is going on there? I was like, that's not normal, like, so I was so confused. And also I was like, well, I know that I'm not a lesbian, because I knew that there was gay and straight, and I knew that I wasn't gay because I was like, well, I've had all these crushes on boys, so I don't really know what's going on. And so that was just kind of hard for me to rationalize. But then like as I got a little bit older, I learned, I don't know, more about sexual identity, and I was like, oh, well, I'm bisexual, probably, because I've had a crush on a girl and boys, so that makes sense. But in my head, it's always kind of been a bit of like a tug of war. Like if I'm talking to a guy, I'll be like, oh, I'm straight. I was just like, I don't know, tricking myself into thinking that I liked just girls.
One place.
Or if I'm talking to a girl, oh, I'm a lesbian. Like I just, you know, felt pressured in society to like boys, and like just thought that I liked boys because that's what society said was normal. So it's always kind of been like a bit of a tug of war, and even with, I don't know, it kind of makes it hard with like school and stuff like that.
I mean,
like,
we're at all girls school.
So I was absolutely petrified that anyone would find out, because I thought, oh my god, all the girls are gonna completely like ostracize me and think that I'm like preying on them and like and like have a crush on them, and like that wasn't the case at all. I was more conscious of that than anyone. Like we had swimming in school, and oh my god, I was not looking at anyone because I didn't want anyone to be like, Alex is looking at me, do you think she likes girls? And like for a rumour to go around. So that was really scary. And also like being a Catholic school, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Like if that comes out.
That gets out and they're
gonna it was also around the time that like the same-sex marriage debate was happening.
Wow. And
the school handed out a couple of things about like saying no, and like the church's response to same-sex marriage. And I had one teacher who I don't know, it's just like the little microaggressions that teachers and students would make. Like I had one teacher who she like was talking to our class, and she was like, oh well, you know, like I think that marriage is sacred between a man and a woman. It's like, whatever, like, believe what you want to believe, but I don't know, I just felt so invalidated. I was like, okay, cool. And other like microaggressions that people would say that like they just say it not even thinking, but I take that and I'm like, oh my god, like like when we were changing for swimming once or something like that, one of the girls was like, oh, imagine if like any of us were lesbians or something like that. And I'm like, oh my god.
So that's what you guys talking about.
Oh my god. Well, not really.
No,
that's stuck in my brain because I like completely freaked out. I was like, oh my god. And then as I got older, you know, kind of became like more alright with it. And then, you know, boys were introduced into the mix from year 11. So that was kind of, I don't know, different. And you know, that comes with different things. Like a couple of guys in some of my classes. There was one guy who sat behind me in one of my classes, and he one day said, why do lesbians date girls that look like guys? Why not just date a guy? And I was sitting there thinking to myself, okay. Thinking they had, you know, had different paths is kind of the whole point, but okay. And there was one guy in one of my classes, it was around The Bachelor when Honey Badger was on that season, and there was one girl on it, and she was bisexual. She didn't label herself as bisexual, but she said that she'd been with girls and guys. And then I was like, oh, like that's so cool to see that on TV and like see that representation. And came to class the next day, and one of the guys in my classes was talking about it, and he was like, that's so weird, why would anyone want to date like someone that's bisexual? And I was like, I was like, oh, I guess it's just stuff like that I don't know, made it kind of hard to come to terms with. And even now I don't know, still I think I'm tricking myself because I don't know, I've always been like very straight passing. Like in high school, I feel like people, I don't know, wouldn't have thought that I was anything other than straight. Even though people would be like, oh, who's your celebrity crush? And I'd be like, oh, Bella Hadid. And they'd be like, oh yeah, she's so pretty. And I'm like, no, but like in a gay way. So like I got more comfortable with it. But there came a time when, some people started finding out that I like didn't trust 100%. And I was like, oh my god, it's gonna spread around the school and I don't know what's gonna happen to me. And it's not even like I was ashamed of it, it's just I didn't want people's perception of me to change. Like I was scared that people would think of me differently. And like look at interactions that we'd had in a different way and stuff like that. So I was like, oh my god. And I ended up having to go to some of my teachers that I trusted and have to like come out to them, which was just, wasn't awkward, but I just felt so awkward because I didn't know how they'd react. And I don't know, you don't really talk, well at least I didn't really talk about stuff like that with my teachers or like even my family. So that was just scary, but I don't know. Now that I'm out of school, I don't know, I think I've come to terms more with like being who I am and people can take it or leave it. I don't know.
School is like this bubble. So you think everything matters there. And logically I knew that it didn't, but I don't know, it just felt so much more daunting for some reason. And now, I don't know, I feel like I can just more be who I want to be. But that's good. I think that idea that, well, like your teacher said, it's between a man and a woman, marriage between a man and a woman. I think it would make you think that, oh, it's too much drama being a lesbian or going having a relationship with a girl. I may as well just go to this side and just deal with that. you know.
Yeah. Yeah, but like you can't help who you have feelings for.
Yeah.
Like, and then you start feeling guilty, and it's like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling like this.
Yeah.
But you know, like, however you're feeling is valid, and it took me, I don't know, a while to realise that and stop playing tug of war in my head.
Yeah.
Trying to like pick a side, that's another big thing. Like people being like, pick a side, like choose girls or choose guys.
You have to decide right
yeah,
now.
but it's just, it doesn't always work like that.
No,
like sometimes you just like people for who they are. They happen to be a boy or happen to be a girl. So.
Yeah. I kind of have my own struggle with that. I haven't really told anyone about it, but I think it's good to talk about because I think everyone has gay thoughts.
At some point questions there.
Questions, and they either gets brushed off or it turns into something more. For me, it's kind of been there for a long time, and I've kind of had it's been very confusing. But for me, I guess I've learned more with time. I think the same as you, you've kind of learned more about it, and you've learned to be more secure with that. And I think in my head, I kind of wanted to just be this, you know, kind of just straight. But I think when thoughts come into play, you can't just disregard them.
Because otherwise, like if you oppress them, they just get, I don't know, stronger, or you have like guilt about it. And I don't know, something that I've found helpful, I don't know, is just thinking like you don't have to have it all figured out now.
Oh, like, of course,
life with, like when I was younger, I felt like I needed to know and be like decisive. But like it's okay. I don't know. I'm so young, so I'm gonna have all this life ahead of me, and I'm gonna have so many people that I'm gonna I don't know, fall in love with or speak to. So it's like, you know, I don't need to worry about all of that now. Just play out.
With everything that's been going on, how is the support from the friends and family?
I'm really close with both of my parents because I'm an only child, so they've always been people that I can rely on, and they've been really supportive throughout the whole thing, and same like with my friends. I've got a couple close friends that, you know, I talk to about my anxiety and depression and stuff like that, so that helps. And I don't know, when everything kind of like first started in like when I was like 15, I don't know, I was hesitant to go to my parents or my friends because I didn't want them to worry about me. And I also thought like they wouldn't really get it, but like that's okay. Like, people don't always have to understand to support you. Like I thought, oh well, I don't know, like my parents, you know, like grew up in a different generation, so I don't know if they'll understand how I'm feeling or be accepting of it, but you know, they don't have to be there and be supportive and say like, I love you, I'm here for you.
You don't want them to understand exactly. You just want them to know that.
To be there.
Just to be there,
and
exactly.
Just to hear me.
And
just have someone there. So that's been really good. I've been like, I probably have shared more with my parents than most of my friends because I don't know, I didn't want to be like a burden on my friends. I don't know, I didn't want them to take on what I was feeling and then feel like, I don't know, this pressure to like try and fix me or whatever. Now I'm a bit more open with them about it because sometimes like we'll have plans and I'll just wake up and just not be able to do it on that day. Like I'll just be having an off day and like they understand that. So I think it's just about like surrounding yourself with people that you trust and love and you know that they love you too. So
Yeah. So getting to, I guess, the lowest point you reached, you might have already kind of gone into it, but if there's any other kind of really dark moments that you've had through all this?
It was mainly, like 2017 and 2019, because both of those times, I don't know, I just felt like there was no way out and no like coming back from it.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't see me getting any better.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm just gonna live my life like this.
Forever.
So what's the point? And it's really hard to get out of that headspace once you're in it. Being like that for a while and just, I don't know, completely isolating yourself and just being, I don't know, I was just in my head with all my own thoughts, and that's, wasn't healthy for me. So that was probably the lowest point.
Yeah. So like because you're going into 2019, you know what happened in 2017.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of in the back of your head. So you're like, oh God, here we go again.
So
nothing's changed.
Yeah, I felt like, oh God, I know what's coming.
Yeah.
And I know how bad it can get. So I thought, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. I'm going to get bad, and then I'll be good for a little while, and then I'm going to get bad again, and then it's just going to keep happening, and there's no point. Like in 2018, I felt like I'd made a lot of progress, and then 2019, I just felt like I completely just went from square one all over again. And like, even just little things, like in 2017, I couldn't sit in church. Like I would just sit there and cry. In 2018, I could sit there and I'd be all right. And then 2019, I literally just could not sit in church or like school assemblies. I would just cry and freak out and leave. And it was really embarrassing because like, I don't know, get like called up to receive like an award or do a reading or something. Or like one time I was supposed to do offertory or something like that. And I just fight or flight again, chose flight, and I got out of there. And it's so bad because people are like, where's she going? Like, what's happening? And it's just so embarrassing. I just felt like I'd made all this progress and then it just completely diminished. And I was like, what's the point? Because
you're going to be running in these circles, and you don't want to fall back there again, but you feel like it's inevitable.
And I was like, I'm doing all I can to stay to be as good as I can, and it's not working. So I don't know, felt trapped, like it was destined to happen.
So up to the third part, we've got some advice, some revelation, some reflection. So first off, just some therapeutic activities that have helped you get through the days.
I really like cooking. It's something that I do to like practice not having control, if that makes sense. So like I don't use a recipe, and not using a recipe, I don't know, it sounds so silly, has, I don't know, helped me just, I don't know, play things by ear and just go with the flow. Like if I'm making dinner or something and I just, I don't know, the amount of flour or sugar or just put in certain spices to taste or whatever. It's, I don't know, kind of helping me relax and unwind and not have to have control over every little thing and measure things perfectly and have things taste a specific way all the time. Like I can make one dish a number of different times and they can taste different because I've put in different amounts of things, but like that doesn't mean that the dish is bad, it just tastes different. So I don't know, that's something I enjoy doing. I like reading.
Reading's
just, I don't know, it's, I've just always been a bookworm.
Yeah.
I really like animals. There's a shelter nearby. It's closed because of COVID. But I would try and go to the shelter and go and like pet the cats.
Surround yourself with some love.
Yeah, because animals, they love you no matter what. And it's like, I don't have to pretend to be someone around animals, and I don't have to worry about their perception of me. So yeah, that's just been something that's therapeutic as well.
Animals are great. They kind of understand when you're down as well.
Yeah.
They can read that and they just be there for something for you to just...
Yeah. I like walking.
Walks are great. They're huge.
Like walking on the beach, or like, I don't know, just around like the area. Yeah, I don't know. That's been good for me, especially with anxiety, like feeling like I'm jumping out of my skin with anxiety and I have all this built up energy, being able to go and get that out and like get fresh air and I don't know, just have the sun, because I don't know, I tend to just stay in my room and just so actually getting out is good, you know. See nice things, see people walking their dogs, see like the trees and birds, and it's like, oh, just learning to appreciate the little things, like oh, that cloud is a cool shape, or stuff like that. So
they bring you back to earth, and you're just like, oh, this is beautiful,
grounding. It's like, oh, there's this whole world outside of me, and the world isn't crumbling down. The world is still functioning, and I'm still a functioning part of the world. So
that's good. So any new ideas or morals that you've learned throughout this?
Kind of just, this is something that like my psychologist taught me. It's called it's like a concept called self as context, and it pretty much means like your feelings aren't bigger than you. So your ability to like recognize your feelings, like if you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I'm sad, that shows that you're in control of your feelings, because you're able to recognize them. They're not all consuming. You aren't your depression, and your depression isn't you.
Oh my god, amen. You've addressed it. You're aware of it.
And like you still have control over that. You're not completely out of control, and your feelings aren't controlling you. You're still bigger than them, because you're able to notice them.
I love that. That's so good.
I'm literally, sorry mum and dad if you're watching this, literally want to get that tattooed on me, like self as context, just to remind myself.
Self is context.
Self as
context.
So I just she told me that concept one day, and I was like, oh, that is so cool. And I went home and I researched it a bit. Like, I find learning about mental health something that helps me understand myself better. And I think some people compare it to like a flashlight. Like in the dark, you can't see things, and things look scary, and like you have no control, but you noticing things is like a flashlight. Like you can shed some light on the situation. But anyway.
I'm going to use that for the website. I like that. I really like that. So what's some really good advice you've heard, and also some bad advice?
The good advice, like self as context, which is
that's
so
great.
good. Also kind of like, it's okay to muddle through things. Like, you don't have to know what you're doing 100% of the time. It's okay to just guess and go along with things as they are, and like not get things perfect. Which logically, like, a lot of people know that, but just having that reminder. And
those affirmations that you keep to yourself, or that you tell yourself, are so important, because they just reinforce what the truth is. And what you know to be is like rational. Any like bad advice that has come to
many.
Yeah.
Just people kind of like invalidating your feelings or experiences. Like you're allowed to feel how you feel, and people being like, oh well, it's just an exam, or it's like, stop worrying about it, or it's not a big deal, or like like it doesn't matter, like why are you getting so upset or anxious, or like why is this making you feel this way, because it's not making me feel like that. Does that make sense? Like everyone has a different experience, and I don't know, just hearing people when they say what they're feeling and taking that on board and letting them feel that.
I think it's going through something that you were oblivious to before. It opens your mind to the rest of the world, and you realize that you shouldn't be so judgmental of others, and this is just for anything, not even mental health, but like I see different things that people go through, and I'm like, oh, I understand why you're acting like you are. I understand. There's a reason for every person to say these things, and it's helped me gain more understanding of other people, and I'm sure it has for you. Just to know that everyone has their own battle that they're facing with.
And it's so easy to see other people and be like, they have it all together.
I used to do that.
But like no one does.
No.
And like, especially, I don't know, I'm a big comparer.
Yes, me too.
Compare myself with other people, like in real life, online, just everywhere, and just knowing that you're not the only one. Like no one has it all together. And everyone's kind of just going through life, like trying to figure it out as they go.
Like Peter, my therapist, he said in a little reading he gave me, it was like everyone starts at a different starting line, and everyone's going to a different finish line, and there's no this person who finishes there is better than this person. It's just a cloud. There's no you're better than me, I'm better than you.
And if you focus on like what other people are doing, like if you're running a race and you focus on what someone next to you is doing, you're gonna run out of your own lane and then get disqualified. So like stay in your lane. Stay in your lane, guys. Focus on what you're doing, because no one's doing everything right. And what's right for someone might not be right for you. So.
What is something you would tell your younger self, knowing what you know now?
I'd probably tell my younger self to, I don't know, be more mindful of like my limits. Because things are a lot more manageable when you notice them and address them like when you first notice them. But I just kept pushing myself, which just made things worse and harder to cope with. So just giving myself permission and letting myself, I don't know, like take breaks and slow down and focus on myself and engage in self-care and stuff like that. Because I really neglected that for a long time.
Everyone who goes through any sort of mental health, you let it run rampant. Because you're just, if I just get over this, like those things don't really matter. And then everyone has that breaking point, and it could be 1 or 2, it doesn't matter what it is, but you have that first point where you break down and like, this is not normal. I'm like, and that's the thing, you got to tell yourself in the moment, and you realize later in life that you just got to tell someone. You got to, as soon as you identify that it's messing with you and it's having an impact, you just got to tell someone. What is something you're always grateful for?
I'm always grateful for my family, my parents. Like I said before, they're really close. I'm grateful for my dog.
Shout out to the dogs.
Yeah. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my body being able to walk and talk and hear things and see things and smell things.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to appreciate the little things. I really like music.
Yeah.
I like nice scenery, and stuff like that keeps me grounded. So I'm grateful that that's there to bring me back to reality.
Oh yeah. And once you, I think the people who are winning in life or are just in the best place they can be, they are so grateful for everything.
Yeah.
Like they look at everything they have as like,
A blessing.
like $1 billion is just, they just, everything means the world to them. And so, it's a slow grind, but once you can kind of get to that point of realizing, man, like I have a great life, really. And that's so important to finally reach that. What is something you can do better?
I guess just continuing to be more open with people, because I still, I don't know, am hesitant to talk to my friends and stuff about my mental health, and I don't know, I feel like if I was more open from the get-go, people would be more understanding, I guess. And just continuing to focus on myself and put myself as number one, without feeling guilty, and just knowing my self-worth and all that.
Yeah, I think if you be more open to the world, it starts to open up to you in a way, and I definitely found that if I stayed back in 2019 and forcing myself under and not doing anything about the problems that I had, I would still be in that way today, and I don't think I'd be here if it weren't for me actually taking those first steps to do something. So that's great. It's just, and a big thing is self-care, understanding that your mental health is above any exam, any perception that other people have of you. Best advice from yourself to finish off, I guess.
I don't know.
Yes.
Reach out. You don't have to wait until it's super far gone to feel like it's okay to get help. I don't know, I felt like a lot of my early anxiety and stuff, I didn't address it because I was like, oh, well, it's not that bad. And people have it so much worse, and felt guilty, and I wasn't, I don't know, bad enough. But just knowing that you're the top priority, and to seek help, no matter if you think that it's a tiny little thing or if it's something that you can't manage. I don't know, just nipping it in the bud. That's
the thing.
That's the key.
And you got plenty of time as well.
There's many years ahead.
You're still a young adult, still a teenager in a way. And so this time around now doesn't make or break the rest of your life. It's really a time you're still finding yourself in the world. A great one I always love and I'll constantly say is to swim, instead of drowning. To try things and to just knowing what I know, because your mind is intended to keep you safe, and if your mind is telling you to go for a run and you think that's get out of here, it's more telling you to be no, I want you to be healthy. And so start to understand that self-care is swimming in the problems instead of just letting them that happened to you.
Yeah.
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 Sweet.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks.
Hope you found something good from this. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
I appreciate it. Did well. And yeah, hope you guys have a good day.
Yeah, see you. Bye.